What I'm going to show you today is the same workflow and sequence that we're going to use every week for every one of our lab exercises. So let's say you're about to start your first session in Stata. First of all, before you start using Stata, and if you need some guidance on accessing Stata, please see the video that I've posted previously about how to access Stata using Apps Anywhere. And also just please be aware of the different sets of instructions for Mac users and for Windows users. So before we do anything in this course, you need to download the 3 datasets. And you'll find the 3 datasets on the Moodle page under the Datasets and Do Files folder. Once you click in here, you'll find 2 separate folders, one labeled Datasets and one labeled Do Files. So Do Files are the native Stata format for syntax files. When you write code sheets, which are just kind of sets of commands or instructions and notes of things to be executed or run in Stata, the format of those files is .do. It bears the .do file extension, and we refer to those as Do Files. So the way I typically teach this course is each week there will be an associated Do file with sets of new commands, explanations, instructions and exercises and so on. Now what you need to do is to download each one of these different files and save them into a single folder. And make sure you do that before you start working with Stata or before you open up Stata in Apps Anywhere. So to download those, a little bit awkward, you can go right click and you can save target as, or you can click on the file and it will just hop straight here to your downloads. You can click on all 3 files if you want. And then if you go down here to show all and go to folder, or show in folder, sorry, you can move these around. You can save them in a single folder. So what I like to do is I like to keep them in a single folder with a sensible title. So give the folder a title like SO617 or something like that. Once you've done that, then you should start Stata using the procedure that I showed you in the previous video, how to access Stata using Apps Anywhere. And what I always do is whenever I'm working in Stata, you want to open the dataset first, which is the .dta file. And the dataset that we're going to use first of all for week 2, and we're going to use this for much of week 3 as well, is this one here, ESS9IE_2018. So this is wave 9, the 2018 wave of the European Social Survey, and it's just the Irish data. So I've already downloaded this and I've saved it to my folder. So from Stata, we just need to go to File, Open, and then I navigate to the folder where I've saved the data. And I see here that I've got this file ESS9IE2018, and we see the type here. It will identify for you in the details line what the file type is. So here it's telling me it's a Stata dataset. I've got one Do file as well, and these are my other 2 Stata datasets. When I click Open, I see that the dataset is now open because I've now got information in the variables window. Your window might look a little bit different to mine, but again, if you refer back to the previous video, you'll see how to set up your viewer to look like mine if you want. It's not essential and it's not important. Now the sequence is important because this is, in my experience, the #1 cause of confusion when you start up a session is not opening things in the right order. Things need to be opened in the right order. You need to open Stata first, then the dataset, then the Do file. If you double click the Do file first, you will run into problems likely because you will have multiple copies of Stata open and Stata won't know where to send, to which window to send the command from the Do file. So there are a couple of ways to open a Do file, but the easiest way is to do it the manual way, to click up here to open a new Do file editor. And then from here, you can either go to the Open icon or you can go File, Open, and then Open. It'll do the same thing. So you navigate down to your folder. I've got mine stored in a folder called Maynooth under 617. It's the 2021 version. And in this folder, data code, I've got my lab file. Once I click open, then we'll just get rid of this untitled one. We see here that I now have 2 windows open. I've got the Stata console running in the background here, and I've also got my Do file open as well. And you'll see here the Do file follows, or will follow, what will become a familiar sequence. Any of the text in red here, particularly the text with an asterisk next to it, these are notes. This is how we make notes in a Stata Do file. You have to have some way of differentiating within the file between a note and a command. So anything with this asterisk before it, Stata treats as a command. It doesn't treat it as something to be executed in the console. But these lines here, where the command is set off in blue, it's not always necessarily. These are commands. These are things that can be run or things that can be executed within Stata to produce some output. So there are two ways to run. There are several ways to do everything in Stata really, but there are a couple of ways to run a command from a do file. The easiest way is to highlight it and then to go up here and to click execute selection. So once I do that, you'll see here that, I'll just do these first. You'll see here that Stata sends these commands from the do file to the console, and I get the output from the command that I've executed here. So we'll see later that I've got some code down here and we'll be working through this in class on Thursday to produce a table. So I want to produce a table. I just highlight the relevant piece of code and I go up here and I click execute, and that now gives me a table. The quicker way to do it is to just highlight the code or chunk of code that you want. Again, we won't always be highlighting a single line. We might want to highlight multiple lines. Is to highlight the piece of code and then click Control D on your keyboard. That shortcut will send that command as well. So you'll see here that as we work down through this, there will be notes set off here in red, followed by commands. And then each week we will also have an exercise for you to do, either within the class if there's time, but also otherwise to do on your own afterwards. And I provide the answers down below to that as well. So that's the basic workflow in Stata. Just remember the sequence every time we do this. First of all, before you start the course, before you start the practical end of this course in week 2, make sure you've downloaded and saved the datasets. Then start up Stata through Apps Anywhere, open the dataset, and then open the do file. So I'll be repeating this each week, but it's quite important to follow that sequence to ensure that we don't have multiple windows open.